My name is Montell Douglas. I am a Team GB ex-sprinter and bobslayer, and I'm the first British woman to ever compete for Great Britain in the Summer and Winter Olympic Games in 2 different sports. Me as an athlete, Monty as an athlete I'm extremely diligent, hard-working. I definitely pride myself on my integrity in sport, and I definitely like to do things the right way. So I really work hard on technical proficiency, and I put everything that I can into what I can do. I am pretty much who I am on the track. I guess I take a lot of my skills from being a sports person into real life, apart from I'm a little bit more patient in what I need to do, and I'd like to know that I've got quite a kind heart and quite sincere and very down to earth. So racing at the Olympic Games, especially in the 100-metre sprint, it is a single person event. You're on your own, you're ready to go. There was 90,000 people at the Olympic Games. There's a roar, the cameras are everywhere, and it's all on you, but there's also an air that there's a team behind you, and that you're representing not just your country, but your family and friends that support you for everything, and that you have to put everything in as soon as the gun goes, and pretty much be running for 11 seconds, and then it will be over. Running at Olympic Games happens very, very fast. It almost feels like time stops. They said that the faster you run, the slower time is, and it definitely counts for when you run 100 metres. You want to be in complete control, and we have this thing called controlled aggression. So you kind of manage everything into that 1 split second and then release it all. And then at the end, there's a massive sense of relief that you've got to the end. The feeling of competing in bobsleigh is completely different for me, especially being an ex-sprinter. I think the fact that it's a team event, knowing that I've been on the start line on my own for many years, and now I have someone next to me that's going through the motions with me, that's putting all the work with me, and working together has a different kind of camaraderie and feeling to it. There's not just friendship there, but there's trust, but also that you've got to do a job, not just for yourself, and you're not taking all of the responsibility for the event. I really love being on top of the bobsleigh. I'm not as nervous as I am in the 100-metre sprint, mainly because I think I've been in the sport for so long that I feel so differently on the start line, but also that it's a very different type of event where the conditions are different, are quite harsh, it's freezing cold temperatures, and there's other people around me in an ice mountain going 90 miles an hour, so I have a very different mindset and attitude towards being able to perform at my best. The similarities in performance regards to sprinting and bobsleigh, I would definitely say that apart from the fact that they're both time-based, you don't compete in bobsleigh against other people. With 100 metres, there are so many other factors. There's 7 other amazing women next to you competing that you have to try and beat, but you're not focused on them, you're focused on yourself. A bit like bobsleigh, you're kind of focused on your own task, in your own zone, in your own lane, or shoot, as it might be, because it's a completely nice mountain. But the similarities are the same for me, as in I'm sprinting in a straight line as fast as I can, but I also need to be a lot more powerful, moving such a heavy sled, but I also need to be a lot more focused and controlled. That the timing is really important for us working as a team, as it is when I'm just going off the blocks for myself. So running the 100-metre sprint in terms of angles and positions, actually very similar to bobsleigh, but they have vast differences. So in the 100-metre sprint, when you go down, you want a really low angle. You're not going to be comfortable in the blocks. Don't try and be comfortable in the blocks. You need extreme explosive power. You're essentially propelling yourself as hard and as fast as you can out of 2 plates. So you're driving out, you're focused, your head is down, you want to build up as much momentum as possible, and then when you get into your in-flight, you want to carry that speed. So it's really short contact, it's moving your arms as fast as you can, but staying as controlled and as calm as possible. You don't want to panic, you don't want to rush, you don't want to worry about anyone else in the race. You want to focus on getting to that finish line as efficiently as possible. So the differences between running the 100-metre sprint or sprinting and bobsleigh in terms of movement, they're very different in terms of the angle. So you're driving out onto a bobsleigh, but it's a lot higher. So you get up into your running a lot earlier because you are not pulling, for example, I was 67 kilos at the Olympic Games, but in summer games, but now I'm pushing 170 kilo carbon fibre sled. That is a lot more power and a lot more force for a longer period of time that I have to push. So you want to get into a high angle, you want to drive your knees as high as possible, as early as possible, which is different to bobsleigh sprinting when you're a little bit lower. And you want to get up into your running and keep your head down and push as hard as you can. The contact time is a lot slower on the ground because you want to generate more force as well, which is completely different to sprinting, which is short contact times, moving as quickly as possible. And in bobsleigh, you want to try and slow that down a bit, but generate much more force and power. So setting a target to be making British history and becoming the first British woman to compete at a Summer Winter Olympic Games, especially 36-year-old, I've been in the game for 20 plus years. My first international medal was at 16 years old, was definitely a challenge, but for me it was more than just competing in bobsleigh. It was more than switching sports. It was trying to set the pace and kind of lead from the front. I wanted to set a legacy and kind of set the pace forward to try and encourage more women and girls to think about their goals and their dreams and to never give up. It was never too late for me, especially the upbringing that I had, coming from really humble beginnings, virtually teenage parents, and from a small place in South London. For me, it was about doing something that not only ever been done before within my family, but had never been done, period. And it meant so much to me that the legacy that I'm leaving behind is more than just the 4 years that I struggled and pushed through and grinded through my sport. It kind of sets the pace for everyone else, and I hope that it inspires people to do the same. So the hardest part, I guess, for me and from a lot of bobsleighers that maybe come from sprints or individual events, was not like the teamwork or the hard graft. I'm not a stranger or shy to putting in work, but I think it was just kind of like the awe of the sport itself. Doing a winter sport, especially in Great Britain, it is not a big sport, and trying to figure out, with funding and the teamwork and trying to basically run our own team was very, very challenging. We don't have always the infrastructure or the sport to do that, so we were kind of like girls doing it for themselves for a lot of the time, which was great for us because we had a lot of autonomy. We managed to put out some amazing performances, and it taught us a lot about ourselves and also how to run a team. But it is quite challenging when you're coming from a sport which is heavily funded. It's one of the blue ribbon events. I'm in the 100-metre sprint, but now I'm working with a team, so kind of working together and figuring out how we're going to manage that for me was a challenge, but something that I really embraced and actually really enjoyed. The hard graft of being away for half the year is also something, but I quite like the difference of being not at home all the time, and I'm very adaptable, so I really embrace seeing amazing new places and getting to know new people. So definitely the one thing that I've learned about myself through the process is that I'm definitely a fighter. I think I knew this from beginning, but I took it for granted a lot of the time that I could just get up and get on with it, whether it was like career-threatening injuries. I could kind of find a way to get it done, and I've kind of taken that mentality all the way through my sporting career. But it really did come in handy with bobsleigh because it was a position where things aren't always going to go right, and you are going to be away from home, you might not have the funds you need, the conditions are really hard, it's freezing cold, and you're away from family and friends, and that's quite tough. But learning a new sport as well and trying to adapt to like the technical prowess, trying to figure out the positions in the sled and what would make me the best bobsleigh athlete I could be was something that I really, really embraced and I really, really enjoyed, and it taught me that I could actually quite good at picking up new things and doing my best and trying my best at doing them the right way.